Learning English, the podcast.
Hey, English learners! Welcome back to the Learning English podcast, your go-to English podcast for learning English in a simple way. I'm Carol.
And I'm Wإيدو. How are you doing today, Carol?
Honestly, a little tired. I woke up early this morning, had my tea, and took the bus to work. The bus was packed, as usual, but you know what? I actually enjoy observing people during my commute. It's like watching little stories unfold.
That's interesting. I'm more of a coffee person myself, and I drive to work. This morning, I was stuck in traffic for almost 30 minutes. It was frustrating, but it gave me time to think about today's episode. Speaking of which, have you ever struggled to talk about your day in English? Maybe you know the words, but you can't seem to put them together in a natural way. Or perhaps your stories feel flat, boring, even to yourself.
Today, we're going to change that. We're talking about how to talk about your day in English. And this is not just an English lesson, it's also a life lesson. Because when you learn to describe your day well, you're not just practicing vocabulary, you're learning to see the beauty in ordinary moments, to connect with people, and to express yourself authentically.
At the end, we'll break down key vocabulary words, so stay until the end. Let's begin.
You know, Wإيدو, I think one of the reasons people struggle to talk about their day is because they think their day isn't interesting enough. Like, who wants to hear about me taking the bus or answering emails?
Exactly. But here's the thing. It's not about what you did. It's about how you tell it. Think about it. Two people can have the exact same day, but one person makes it sound like an adventure, and the other makes it sound like a chore. The difference is in the details, the emotions, the little observations. So let's start with the morning. Carol, tell me about your morning today.
Well, I woke up at 6, my alarm went off, and honestly, I wanted to hit snooze, but I didn't. I got up, washed my face, and made myself a cup of tea. I love that quiet time in the morning before the world wakes up. It's peaceful. Then I got dressed, grabbed my bag, and headed to the bus stop. The air was cool, and I could hear the call to prayer in the distance. It reminded me of home, you know?
That's beautiful. See, you just told me about your morning, and it wasn't boring at all. You included sensory details, the cool air, the call to prayer, the quiet time with your tea. Those details make the story alive. Now, let me tell you about mine. I woke up at 7. I know. I'm not a morning person. I made coffee, strong coffee, because I needed it. Then I jumped in the car and started driving to work. The roads were already busy. I was listening to a podcast, actually an English learning podcast, and I was thinking about how we could make today's episode really helpful for our listeners. And then I got stuck in traffic, which was annoying, but it happens.
So right there, we both just described our mornings. And notice how we didn't just say, I woke up, I went to work. We added context, feelings, little moments that make the story real. That's the first tip. Add details. Not too many, but enough to paint a picture.
And here's another thing. When you talk about your day, use a variety of sentence structures. Don't just say, I did this, then I did that, then I did this. Mix it up. Use phrases like, after I woke up, before I left the house, while I was on the bus. It makes your speech more natural and more interesting.
Absolutely. And let's talk about the commute, because for many of us, that's a big part of the day. Carol, you take the bus, I drive. Both experiences are so different, but both are worth talking about. So what's your commute like?
Well, like I said, the bus is usually packed. This morning, I was standing for most of the ride because there were no seats. But I don't mind. I like people watching. There was this older man reading a newspaper, a young woman with headphones on, probably listening to music, and a little kid who kept staring at me. I smiled at him, and he smiled back. It was a sweet moment.
Those little interactions, they make the day better, don't they?
They really do. For me, driving's a different experience. It's more solitary. I'm alone with my thoughts or with whatever I'm listening to. This morning, like I said, I was stuck in traffic. I could see the frustration on other drivers' faces. Everyone's in a hurry. But I tried to stay calm. I reminded myself that getting angry won't make the traffic move faster. So I just took a deep breath and waited.
That's a good mindset. And see, Even something as mundane as a commute can be interesting when you describe it with emotion and observation. You're not just saying, I took the bus or I drove to work. You're sharing what you saw, what you felt, what you thought about.
Now, let's move on to the workday itself. This is where a lot of people feel like they have nothing to say because work can be repetitive, right? Same tasks, same people, same environment. But even in repetition, there are unique moments. Carol, what was your workday like today?
Well, I got to the office around 8:30. The first thing I did was check my emails. There were a lot of them. Some were urgent, some could wait. I prioritized the urgent ones and started responding. Then I had a meeting at 10. It was about a new construction project we're working on. We discussed timelines, budgets, materials. It was a bit hectic because everyone had different opinions, but we managed to reach a consensus by the end. After the meeting, I grabbed a quick lunch, just a sandwich from the cafeteria. Then I spent the afternoon working on some technical drawings. It was detailed work, so I had to really focus. By the end of the day, I was mentally exhausted, but I felt productive.
That sounds like a full day. And notice how you structured it. You didn't just say, I worked. You broke it down. Emails, meeting, lunch, drawings. You gave a timeline and you included how you felt. Hectic during the meeting, focused in the afternoon, exhausted but productive by the end. Those emotional markers are important. They make your story relatable. Now, my day was similar in some ways. I also started with emails. Then I had to visit a construction site. We're overseeing a building project and I needed to check on the progress. It was hot today, really hot, and the site was dusty. I talked to the foreman, inspected some of the work, took notes. Then I drove back to the office and spent the rest of the day catching up on paperwork. Paperwork is the worst part of the job, honestly. It's tedious, but it has to be done. By 5 o'clock, I was ready to go home.
So again, we're both describing work, but we're not just listing tasks. We're including context, environment, emotions. That's what makes the story engaging. And here's another tip. When you talk about your day, don't be afraid to admit challenges or frustrations. People connect with honesty. If your day was hard, say it was hard. If you made a mistake, share it. Vulnerability makes you human, and it makes your English more authentic.
I completely agree. And speaking of challenges, let's talk about the evening. Because after a long day, how you wind down is just as important as how you start. Carol, what do you usually do in the evening?
Well, I get home around 6:30. The first thing I do is change out of my work clothes. I put on something comfortable, like sweatpants and a t-shirt. Then I usually help with dinner. My family likes to eat together, so we sit around the table and talk about our day. It's a nice tradition. After dinner, I might watch some TV or read a book. Lately, I've been reading a lot of English novels. It helps with my vocabulary. And then, before bed, I like to reflect on the day. I think about what went well, what I could have done better, what I'm grateful for. It's a calming ritual.
That's beautiful. For me, evenings are a bit different. I get home around 6. I'm usually pretty tired, so I just want to relax. I'll have dinner, maybe watch a show, or scroll through my phone. I know I should be more intentional with my time, but sometimes I just need to zone out, And then I try to prepare for the next day. I'll check my calendar, see what meetings I have, what tasks I need to prioritize, and then I go to bed, usually around 10 or 11.
So we both have different evening routines, but both are valid. And when you describe your evening, again, include those little details. What you wear, what you eat, who you talk to, how you feel. Those details make your story yours.
Now, let's talk about why this matters. Why should you practice talking about your day in English? Well, first of all, it's practical. In real conversations, people ask, "How was your day?" If you can answer that question naturally and confidently, you'll feel more comfortable speaking English. But it's more than that. When you talk about your day, you're practicing narrative skills. You're learning to organize your thoughts, to sequence events, to express emotions. These are advanced language skills that will help you in all areas of communication.
And there's a personal development aspect too. When you reflect on your day and put it into words, you're processing your experiences. You're noticing patterns, recognizing emotions, finding meaning in the mundane. It's a form of mindfulness.
Exactly. And for us as Arab English learners, there's also a cultural dimension. When we talk about our day, we're sharing our world. The call to prayer in the morning, the family dinners, the way we navigate our work environments. These are parts of our identity, and expressing them in English helps us bridge cultures. It shows that English isn't just a foreign language, it's a tool for sharing who we are.
That's so true. And I want to encourage everyone listening, start small. You don't have to tell your whole life story. Just pick one part of your day, your morning, your commute, your lunch break. Describe it in English. Say it out loud. Write it down. Record yourself. The more you practice, the more natural it will become.
And don't worry about making mistakes. Mistakes are part of learning. What matters is that you're trying, that you're putting yourself out there. And over time, you'll notice that talking about your day becomes easier, more fluid, more enjoyable.
You know, Edu, I think there's something powerful about daily storytelling. It's not just about language, it's about connection. When you share your day with someone, you're inviting them into your life. You're saying, this is what I experienced, this is what I felt, this is who I am. And that creates intimacy, understanding, empathy.
Absolutely. And in a world that's so fast-paced and disconnected, taking the time to talk about your day, really talk about it, is a radical act. It's saying, my life matters, my experiences matter, my story matters. And when you do that in English, you're also saying, I belong in this global conversation. I have something to contribute.
I love that. And I think that's the heart of what we're trying to do with this podcast. We're not just teaching English, we're empowering people to use English as a tool for self-expression, for connection, for growth. Because language is never just words. It's about what those words allow you to do, who they allow you to become.
So, to everyone listening, we challenge you. Tonight, before you go to bed, take 5 minutes to talk about your day in English. Doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be profound. Just be honest. Be yourself. And notice how it feels. You might be surprised at what you discover.
And if you want to take it a step further, share your day in the comments. Tell us one thing that happened today. We'd love to hear from you. And who knows, maybe your story will inspire someone else.
Before we wrap up, let's talk about some common mistakes people make when talking about their day. One big mistake is being too vague. Saying things like, I had a good day, or I was busy, doesn't give the listener anything to connect with. Be specific. What made your day good? What were you busy with?
Another mistake is using the same verbs over and over. I went, I did, I had. English has so many rich verbs. Try using words like I rushed, I wandered, I tackled, I savored. It makes your speech more colorful.
And finally, don't forget to use transitions. Words like after that, meanwhile, by the time, eventually. These help your story flow and make it easier for the listener to follow.
Great points. And one more thing. Don't feel like you have to describe every single moment of your day. Highlight the interesting parts, the meaningful parts, the parts that say something about you. It's okay to skip the boring stuff. Your listener doesn't need to know every email you answered or every minute you spent in traffic. Focus on the moments that matter.
Exactly. Quality over quantity. And remember, the goal isn't to impress anyone. The goal is to communicate, to connect, to practice. So be authentic, be present, and be kind to yourself. Learning a language is a journey, and every conversation, every story, every attempt is a step forward.
All right, Edu, we used some really interesting words today.
Yes, let's break down the key vocabulary.
Let's start with commute. This means the journey you take from home to work and back. For example, my commute takes about 40 minutes each way.
Next, wind down. This means to relax after a busy or stressful period. For example, I like to wind down in the evening by reading a book.
Now, hectic. This describes something that is very busy, chaotic, or full of activity. For example, today was hectic at work with back-to-back meetings.
Then we have catch up. This means to do something you didn't have time to do earlier or to reach the same level as the others.
For example, I need to catch up on my emails this weekend.
Next is run errands. This means to do small tasks or chores like going to the bank or buying groceries. For example, I spent Saturday morning running errands.
Now, grab a bite. This is an informal way to say eat something, usually quickly. For example, let's grab a bite before the movie starts.
Then wrap up. This means to finish or complete something. For example, I need to wrap up this report by Friday.
Next, stuck in traffic. This means being unable to move because there are too many cars on the road. For example, I was stuck in traffic for an hour this morning.
Now, productive. This describes a period of time when you accomplish a lot. For example, I had a very productive day at work today.
Then we have overwhelming. This means something that is so intense or difficult that it's hard to deal with. For example, the amount of work I have this week is overwhelming.
Now, routine. This is a regular way of doing things in a particular order. For example, my morning routine includes coffee and a quick workout.
And finally, reflect. This means to think deeply about something. For example, I like to reflect on my day before going to sleep.
So those were our keywords for today.
Yes, try using them in your own sentences. Practice makes perfect.
Thank you all for joining us today. We hope this episode inspired you to start talking about your day in English. Remember, your story matters. Your experiences, your observations, your feelings, they're all worth sharing. And the more you practice, the more confident you'll become.
We'll see you next time on the Learning English podcast. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep telling your story.
Your progress doesn't end here. Click on the next video or explore the additional videos we've selected for you.